Hi there. Welcome to Sheepless Needles, a vegan podcast that's not about being vegan, where we talk about all sorts of fun stuff like knitting, cats in your lap, bunnies, gin and tonics, games. Grab a snack, pull up a chair. Let's hang out. What have you been up to for the last 2 weeks? I hope it's been fun. My 2 weeks, I'll be honest, have not been the best 2 weeks. They haven't been the worst, but they haven't been the best. Maggie in my lap here, little update on her. She's doing better than she was. She had a seizure 3 weeks ago. She went in for her checkup and they're continuing her medication for another 2 weeks because her blood and urine panels are still higher than they should be. So we take her back in another 2 weeks and I will give you an update after we do that. The good news is she has not had any more seizures. So, I had the joy of having a germ bomb dropped on me by my husband, who got both of us really ill with a horrid chest cold, which I'm getting over. So you're going to hear raspiness in my voice. I'm not a good patient. Maggie's not a good patient. I'm over this. I just want to be better. I'm sure she doesn't want to be medicated anymore. Yeah, just, when you don't feel well, it's not fun. It's not fun for me, and I'm sure I don't make it fun for the people who have to be around me. So that's been my 2 weeks. I did knit. Not a lot, but I did knit. And one of the things I wanted to get into today in terms of knitting and hobby and just life in general is never feed the trolls, number one. But number two would be, sometimes you have to try things multiple times before you get them right. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't look at that as a failure. I look at it as a stepping stone. It's a learning moment where you can, pick up and take what you got out of it and use it in the future. And I think that's super important for people with any hobby. It could be knitting, it could be bread baking, it could be arm wrestling, whatever hobby you have. I think when you start something new, the learning curve is always fairly steep until you get a comfort level with what you're doing. And as you get more comfortable, you add more components to it and you just keep growing. You learn and you grow and you get better. And I think in the beginning, just don't compare yourself to anyone else who's in that skill set. Like, as a beginning knitter, I'm not going to compare myself to someone who's been knitting for, any length of time, because their skill set's going to be different than mine at any given time. And I think if you compare yourself to someone else, you're going to feel like you're lesser than, and you're not. You're just at a different point in your process. And I wanted to talk about this because when I started knitting, I reached out, and this is probably in like 2012-ish, maybe, might be a little bit later than that. But I reached out with a vegan fiber question in general, and the response I got back was atrocious. It was extraordinarily negative in a manner that it didn't need to be. And it also didn't even answer my question because somebody was just really pissed off that I was vegan. And it really, really took me aback. I was not expecting that reaction. And it made me not want to knit because I didn't want to be with people who were that hateful. And I walked away from knitting. That's why I stopped. So I had been knitting for about 6 to 8 months and I walked away because I was like, wow, I don't belong here at all. And then I just, picked knitting back up prior to the pandemic. And I have a different attitude. And when I look back at that, I realized that I used that negative response as an excuse to give up. While the negativity was part of me walking away, the majority of me walking away was because I felt lesser than, I felt like I didn't have the skill set I needed and I wasn't good enough. And getting that negativity just reinforced that I wasn't good enough and I'm shelving it and I'm not even going to try. That was my attitude. Well, that's a crappy attitude to have. And I wish I hadn't had that attitude in some ways, but I'm glad that I did because I can recognize it now. And I bring that up because I am knitting. I've brought this one up before, a dotted raise for a coworker. And I bring it up because this is my 4th attempt at the dotted raise. My first 3 were disasters. All 3 disasters were my own fault, partially because I didn't thoroughly read the pattern instructions, and I would get through a section and realize, oh, I was supposed to be knitting through the back of this, or, oh, like, if you had just paid attention, you would have gotten it. And I didn't. And I picked a really horrid yarn for the project. Not a horrid yarn for anything else, but just for this project. So I decided I was going to pick a different yarn and pick it back up. And I did. And I gotta say, you guys, I'm really happy with it. And I'm glad that I just didn't totally walk away. And I think I'm probably going, I haven't decided if I'm doing the small or large version for her. So I need a Vanna White. Like, Maggie, can you be my assistant, please? Pretty please. So I don't know if you guys can really even, yeah, you can kind of see that. So I am probably halfway through the pattern if I do the large, and I'm probably 3/4 of the way if I do the small. And I don't know which size I'm going to do for her. I'm going to get to the point where I would, finish off for the small, try it on, and then decide. I just don't know yet. I'm using Premier Yarn in Garden, which is 100 grams and 284 yards, sport weight, or 3 weight, yep. And it is 100% micro acrylic, and I really like it. No complaints. I recommend it. So, I'm working on that. I'd like to get that off my needles by the next time I podcast. We'll see. I think it's going to depend if I decide to go ahead with the large. I won't be done if I do that. Second shawl I'm working on is a first, and it's a first in 2 ways. It's a lace weight shawl, like with lace work, and it's also, I'm using the charts on it, and I'm really enjoying it. Now, I only knit on it for about an hour at a time, and then my brain shuts down and says, I'm not reading this pattern anymore. So I've worked on it for about 3 hours. So I really don't have very much to show you because I am not a quick knitter. But, ta-da! I love it, you guys. I really do. My only concern, for those who know me, they're going to know exactly what I mean when I say this. My only concern with it is it's fairly delicate. I am not. So we'll see. I am knitting this on, and I want to bring up the needles I'm using because I think the needle choice was really important on this. I am knitting these on my Knit Picks Mosaic Wood Interchangeables. It's the US 5 size. Wood was 100% the right decision for me on this because I'm not worried about dropping my stitches the way I would be if I had used metal. So I'm really enjoying it. The pattern itself, I don't even know if I told you what it was. It's called the Tea Leaf Tarot Shawl. It's by Mandy B. I will, obviously, any of the patterns I'll leave in the show notes for you. She has just done a fabulous job with this pattern, and it marries Dungeons and Dragons and knitting for me, which I love. So if you like Dungeons and Dragons and you know Critical Role, check this out. You'll really like it. She did she put together, well, she and I think another knitter put a book together called Crit Knits with knits that are inspired by Critical Role. So much fun. And I just love that. I really, really respect that creativity, and I'm envious of it. I am using Twister yarn. It is 55% cotton, 45% acrylic. Love it. We'll use it again. Okay, so what I was doing was knitting on both of those, and when my brain would shut off, which it does, I would then move over to my third project, which is my sweater. Tee-hee! Okay, so this is the Painting Honeycomb sweater by Stephen West. This is the front, and wow, I've got yarn going everywhere. And then this is the back. I have just finished the yoke. So I am going to be moving on to the section where you take stitches off onto waste yarn to do the armholes. I'm a little bit nervous about that. I may be SOSing the vegan knitting group. So look out for my SOS. Help a sister out because I'm probably going to need some. I am knitting this on Premier's Anti-Pilling Everyday DK in Raven Black. That's the main color. And then those color bands, I'm using Knit Picks Comfy and Worsted Weight. I don't think they named their colors, but I just picked like a sweet potato color, a brownie gray color, and then like the navy. And I'm not normally a blue person, but I really liked the way that that blue looked with the black and then the like brown. So I'm enjoying it. And, you know, it's the first sweater I've ever knit, and it's made me want to knit other sweaters. So I'm really excited about that. And even if it comes out with like, you know, one sleeve is, you know, 30 miles longer than the other, which, yeah, that's an exaggeration, but you know what I'm saying? I'll just roll one sleeve up and no one will know, you know? And what are they going to say when you're like, if I go out with my knit sweater on and someone's like, oh, did you knit that sweater? It's ugly. Like, they're not going to say that. They'll just keep it to themselves. And if they get close enough to see a designer element, they're too close. You're invading my space. Step back. You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited about all three of these. What are you excited about? What are you working on? What do you have on your needles? Get into it. So those are my threes. That's my three projects. And I don't really have a lot else to talk about today other than the one thing that I would like to do kind of at the end of every podcast is I want to pick a category that we can give the top three, our top three on. So like it could be books, it could be movies, it could be bread, it could be cookbooks, it could be, you name it, mixed drinks, gin and tonic. Okay, this is so cold. I just have to share this with you. This gin and tonic is so cold that when I drink it, I have lip balm on. It's making my lip balm thicken up, and it's the weirdest sensation, but I love it. Okay, so for today's topic, it's not gin and tonics, but maybe it should have been. Top three gins. Hendrix. Belle of Dayton. Death's Door. Boom, out of the door. Out of the way, out of the door, whatever. You understood. Okay, but the real topic, besides gin, is perfume. And vegan perfumes can be hit or miss. A lot of them smell like ass. So I picked three of my favorite for summer. The first one I have is Moonlight Gypsy. This is by a company called Penrose. If you like fragrance counter fragrances, mainstream fragrances, you will like Penrose perfumes. They have a really wide variety. This one is amber and sandalwood. It's a little bit heavy. I like that for summer. That is not for everyone for sure. They do have lighter fragrances, but they also have little tester sachets that are called petals, and you can get one of each fragrance that they do inexpensively to test it before you bite the bullet on a larger bottle. This is actually the medium-sized bottle. They do a larger bottle, and then they do travel sprays. I don't think they do the travel sprays in all the fragrances, though, but I might be wrong. Check them out. Wonderful customer service. I would say medium price point. It's not hateful, but it certainly isn't drugstore. You know what I mean? It's not low end that way. Second one, Lush. And this is Tank Battle. Now, people either like Lush or they don't. I don't want to get into the politics of that. I really enjoy their perfumes, and they've got an extensive perfume library. Pros of it is they have an extensive perfume library. Cons of it, it is not inexpensive, and for the really out there fragrances, there's no way to get a tester. A lot of their in-store fragrances, you can obviously test them while you're there, but they have what are called wash cards, which is basically the fragrance in a shower gel form in apple pulp. So you can use it to wash your hands, or you can use it like in the shower as your shower gel. And it's a great way to test a multitude of their fragrances. Those are super inexpensive. Hop on their website and just order one of each of their fragrances, and you'll get a really good idea. The they are not mainstream fragrances, so they're not going to be for everyone. The ones that are really out there are not available in store, and they're only available online with no tester. And I kid you not, some of them are $200 a bottle, and it's like this size bottle. So not for the faint of heart. Now, Tank Battle is not one of those. This is a smaller size of Tank Battle. I think I paid maybe $70 for this. And I love it, but it's really weird. And that's probably why I love it. It smells like wet cement and metal. And like there's a kid nearby blowing bubbles, and there's bubble gum stuck on the ground. So it's sweet and not. And that sounds disgusting, but it's fabulous. When I first wore it, it took me all day, but it was like, this reminds me of something that's driving me nuts. Renaissance Festival in a bottle. Okay, third company is a company I cannot pronounce, and they even joke about this on their website that they can't pronounce their own name. It's Sucrobla. Okay, I'll leave the link. You look them up. They do perfume oils and then concentrates, and they also do like alcohol-based sprays. They come in all different sizes, and there are hundreds of scents, but they are grouped together so phenomenally on their website, where you can say, hey, I like cats, I like fresh, I like floral, I like herbal, I like musk, I like whatever it is, right? Dirt. And then they subcategorize it beyond that. So you can really fine tune and get something that you're going to like. This is a 1 gram size. This one is called Sea Glass. I was looking for something that would be good for summer during the day, that would be light, not overwhelming, but just unusual. And this is it. It's very aquatic. It's fresh on one end of it, but it has a note of salt, but it also has an undertone of coconut, but not a suntan oil coconut. I love it. I love it. And try this company. You will find something you like, and they have great names to their perfumes. And you'll find a couple that are doozies. There's one that's called Death Unicorn that I really like. There's another one that's, okay, if you have kids in the room, just cover their ears because I've got to drop the F-bomb. It's called Goth as Fuck. And if you were somebody who went clubbing in the late 80s, as I was, it straight up smells like a 100-year-old vampire sitting in line to get in at industrial night at your favorite club. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. It just is, it's phenomenal. That's just what it smells like. So those are my top 3. What are your top 3? Put them in the comments. Let's find new fragrances to share with each other. And hi, Maggie. Maggie, you want to close this out? Maggie wants everyone to have a really good 2 weeks. Yeah, and she says, and I want my dinner, and I'm not going to get my dinner until you shut up and feed me, right? So have a great 2 weeks. Take care of yourself. Take care of one another. Love yourself and love one another. And I'll see you soon. Bye.